Good morning, guys. Welcome to Chapter 5 this week. Dr. Scott, I'm talking to you guys at the Atlanta International Airport. I am traveling to Connecticut to teach with the FBI this week, so I had a 2-hour layover, so I thought I'd go ahead and just get some stuff into y'all before we kick off next week. Hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I'm very happy to hear that the rain in East Texas is finally gone. No more flash flooding alerts or anything going on, so those of us that have yards have to do some heavy yard maintenance probably sometime this week. Well, in Chapter 5, we're talking about planning for people. And in this chapter, we're going to talk about how can business strategies be integrated with strategic workforce planning, how might job design principles and job analysis be useful to the practicing manager, what is the strategic workforce planning, and how should I begin, or you begin, that process, thinking ahead, thinking forward about utilizing your people to the maximum potential possible. And how should organizations manage leadership succession, which I can say in most businesses and most organizations, succession is something we don't think until it's either too late or way after the fact. If you would, in Chapter 5, there's about a dozen or so key terms. Familiarize yourself with those. Let's see here. Where do I want to start? Okay. So when we talk about... Someone's got dogs. Never mind. All right, so we're talking about business strategy, foundations for all organizational decisions. Well, the strategy formulation answers the basic question, how are we going to compete? What's going to set us ahead or aside or make us different or profitable than, say, company A, B, C, or city A, B, and C in terms of attracting and retaining quality people to maximize our service or our output? Now, it's a vital role of senior leaders within the organization, and it typically considers the external environment, customer trends, competitive positioning, and internal strengths and weaknesses. We have to be cognizant of that at all times. Strategy formulation may be quite formal and last over long periods, or it may be highly dynamic or adaptive, depending if you're putting people in places for tenure or longevity, or if you're forming what we talked about last week in these teams concepts, where you're putting these guys together to claim one objective and then moving on to the next objective. Leaders at all levels can help ensure that all resources, including people, are deployed and managed in relation to their importance and strategic successes that allows the organization to sustain its competitive advantage. In other words, put the right people in the right jobs. Not the buddy, not the cousin, not the brother-in-law, in the key places. But you find the guy who can do the job and surprise you by doing more than the bare minimum. Strategy implementation makes an intended strategy real. How firms compete with each other are often how they attain and sustain competitive advantages known as strategic management. And that's what we're talking about here. Strategic management is how firms compete with each other and how they attain and sustain competitive advantage, meaning staying ahead, more profits, or staying ahead in the technology industry by having a more cutting edge or getting stuff out quicker that's actually working. Now, ensuring the coherence and strategic direction is a little bit more complicated. Organizations are more likely to be successful if everyone from the mailroom to the boardroom is striving for common goals and objectives, meaning that everyone has a part in the organization, everyone has buy-in, everyone's voice is heard, and they're all in line. If you have total alignment with your organization, all right, like I said, from the mailroom or from the streets department to the police to the fire to HR, and everyone's on the same boat, there's no telling how fast and how far your organization will thrive and go. An organization's vision should be massively inspiring, overarching, and long-term. Emotionally driven in its fundamental statement of an organization's values, aspirations, and goals. All too often, I see departments or cities with very generic and bland mission statements or visions or whatever you want to call them, and they're not inspiring. They're just kind of like, we're going to protect and serve. We're going to respond quickly, have 24-hour assistance. And it's nice. I'm glad that's fundamentally what you're doing. But you want to have something that's going to motivate you. People will stop and actually read your mission statement and say, you know what, that's what I want to do. Now, we have an acronym in this chapter called the SMART objectives. SMART is specific, measurable, appropriate, consistent with the vision and mission, realistic, challenging, but doable, and timely. Now, SMART objectives have several advantages. Number one, they help to channel the efforts of all employees toward a common goal. It brings everyone facing the same way. They can motivate and inspire employees to higher levels of commitment and effort. They can provide a yardstick to measure performance and thus the distribution of rewards and incentives. So you're going to have something that's going to bring everyone together, something that's going to put everyone in the same direction, but not just that. Not is everyone in the same direction, but are we measuring? Are we reaching our objectives? And you're going to be able to see what kind of progress is being made with this particular acronym. Now, the biggest benefit of strategic planning is its emphasis on growth, where it encourages managers to look for new opportunities rather than simply cutting more workers. The first thing people do when they start seeing profits drop is downsize. We've got to save money. We've got to cut back on benefits. We've got to, find ways to save money by... Really? Okay. All right. Now, the danger of strategic planning is that it may lock companies into particular visions for the future, meaning survival. We just want to survive this crisis, this quarter, this year. Budgets are being cut, grants are funded. The answer is to make the planning process more democratic. It needs to include a wide range of people, from line managers to consumers to suppliers. Now, your business strategy is a little bit different. Your business strategy provides an overall direction for focus for an organization as a whole, including each functional area for the business. All right. The strategic management is that vision. The business is the nuts and bolts, how we're going to accomplish that vision. Now, going back to this class, your HR strategy is specific with respect to the selection, deployment, and management of the talent. So you've got three things happening here. You've got the strategic management, the mission, the business, which is the nuts and bolts, the machines. Your HR is going to bring in the right people to run those nuts and bolts and run that machine so we can accomplish our vision. Now, the relationship of HR strategy to the business strategy is that human resource strategy parallels with and facilitates implementation of a strategic business process or business plan. HR strategy is a set of priorities a firm uses to align the outcomes. Just lost my place, sorry. To align its outcomes. Sorry, someone just dropped something over there. Let me back up. HR strategy is a set of priorities that firm uses to align resources, policies, and programs with the strategic business plans. It requires a focus on planned major changes in the business and critical issues, such as following what the HR implications are for the proposed business strategies. Do these business strategies line up? Does HR have the right people ready to do the right job? What are the possible external constraints on requirements? Low talent pool. Job descriptions are not clearly defined. You're not testing the right people. The money may not be there. So there's all kinds of external factors that, we have to look at the economy. Are we competitive? Are other types of businesses or areas drawing your talent away? Or, what's happening here? What can be done in the short term to prepare for long-term needs? Question is a good question there, is basically set your guys up for success. Once you hire them on, great. But don't just leave them, stick them in a job forever. Make sure they've got training, they've got some kind of game plan. If they want to get into management and leadership, start prepping them for them day one. Don't wait until you make an announcement and you got 30 days to apply. Planning proceeds top down, while execution proceeds from the bottom up. Let me say that again. Planning comes from the top down, but the execution starts at the bottom and works its way up. So you've got two things going here at one time. To manage and motivate employees and strive for high performance, the right competencies, incentives, and work practices must be in place. As a rule, high-performance practices such as workplace features as the following. Number one, work empowerment, participation, and autonomy. Most people want to know their job and they want to be left alone to do it, i.e. we don't micromanage. I know most people don't want to be micromanaged. The use of self-managed and cross-functional teams. Commitment to superior product and service quality. Are we doing the best we can with what we have? Are we giving it to the right people? And are they buying into it? Are they happy with what we're doing? Flat organization structures, that pyramid, the bureaucracy, my boss, her boss, then his boss. The chain of command thing's getting old. A lot of companies are doing away with it. They're trying to flatten that bureaucracy down. Flexible or enriched design at work that is defined by the roles, processes, output, requirements, and distal criteria. What's the customer satisfaction? Rather than in addition to rigidly prescribed job-specific requirements, meaning we're giving people have freedom to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, and we know that they're working. They don't have to be told what to wear. They have to be at their desk cubicle at 8 o'clock in the morning. They get a 1-hour lunch break. They get a 15-minute break here, and they're constantly being constrained. Those days are hopefully going by the wayside. Rigorous staffing and performance management practices, meaning we're training them as much as possible and expecting more out of them. Now, the HR metrics should reflect the key drivers of the individual team and organization performance. When they do, the organization is measuring what really matters. Are these guys happy? Are they working to the best of their ability? So with the strategic workforce plans, they must flow from and be consistent with the overall business and HR strategies, as I mentioned. Everything has to be lined up. Workforce planning focuses on firm-level responses to people-related business issues over multiple time horizons. Short-term goals, medium goals, or long-term goals, or company goals, they all might be intertwined, but the goals might be reached at different points in time during the career span or during the business cycle. Realistically, HR concerns become business concerns and are dealt with only when they affect the line manager's ability to function effectively. On the other hand, people related businesses issues such as the workforce diversity, changing requirements, managerial skills with no growth assumptions, mergers and retaining needs, and healthy safety issues are directly related to organizational competitiveness and the threaten to its ability to survive. So we look about what's going on in HR management. We discuss the end of the job. In the mid-1990s, books and magazines proclaim what we call the end of the job. Post-job workers would likely be self-employed contract workers hired to work on projects or teams. We started to see these guys who were retiring coming back as specialists or experts in certain fields, whether it was tech industries, law enforcement, government functioning. Many governments contract out to help, like quality assurance managers, stuff like that. Oil companies is another one. At firms, they organize work around projects. People have worked maybe on 6 to 10 projects or perhaps at different employers at the same time. They may come to pass someday, but not yet. The internet revolution happened as companies' websites invites applicants for jobs. That expedites the process. We started sending websites out to more people so they could apply and we get higher numbers of applicants. Employees may work on 6 to 10 projects at once, and that might be for just one employer. You might be contracted to fix HR, fix the database, fix payroll, go out and do some surveys all at the same time. Now, the concept of work is changing, sometimes at a dizzying pace, because fluid organizations fighting to stay competitive require that people adapt constantly, meaning that the jobs change all the time. You know, our missions change, our directions change, so we're looking for people who can adjust accordingly. Now, we look at the alternative perspectives on jobs. Jobs are important to both individuals and organizations. That's what keeps us alive. The following questions can help you get people to work efficiently. Who specifies the content of each job? Is it someone that's in the trenches with the people, or is it someone who's out looking in? That makes a huge difference. Who decides how many jobs are necessary? How many are interrelationships among jobs determined and communicated? Has anyone looked at the number of designs, the content of jobs from the perspective of the entire organization, basically getting that big picture? And what are the minimum qualifications for each job? What should training programs stress on new employees? How should job performance on each job be measured? And what is each job worth? Why do some jobs pay more and some jobs pay less? You know, and why do some areas get bonuses or certain perks and others don't? In this chapter, we look at the job design and that scientific management, asking the question, one best way, which is the dominant approach to job design in the industrial society of the 20th century. You know, if you guys get into public administration, you got when you are. But you'll know that Frederick Taylor believed that one of the best ways to perform work as identified workers should be selected on the basis of their ability to do that job. Trained to the standard of the way to perform the job and offer monetary incentives to motivate them to do their best. This approach is fully consistent with a cost leadership business strategy. You hire the right people, train the right people, and pay them what they're worth to do the job. And that's still alive today. Now, job designs are changing simply because the environment, the business environment, the public sector is changing constantly. All right. So when you guys are looking over this chapter, you know, be sure to look at some of the ways that we're identifying the work to be done and the personal characteristics needed to do the work. Job descriptions, job specifications are important. Take a look at that job analysis with the American Civil Disabilities Act of 1990. Things changed after 1990. We started seeing more people with ADA needs coming in. We had to make more concessions and changes in our policies. So now we get this. All right. Pretty much the rest of it talks about ADA. We talked about from job analysis to strategic workforce planning. We're having identified the behavior requirements of jobs. The organization is in a position to identify the number of employees and skills required to do those jobs. All right. This process is known as the strategic workforce planning, or SWP, which some of you guys are probably familiar with this term. It's the formal process that connects business strategy to human resource strategy and practices and ensures that a company has the right people in the right place and the right time and at the right cost. All right, looking at talent, you want to basically look at things, and your talent pool may change. Some of the talents we're looking for is language, background, college, definitely a plus. The multitasker, someone who's able to work flexible hours. We're looking at, awards received, that might help and drive them. Some of them may or may not want to be transferred. Compensation planning, career planning. For most people right now, the big thing they're looking at is benefits and retirement. Even in their 20s now, they're thinking about this. Okay, well, I'm going to take a break on this right now. I'm going to get more into this later this week, but take a look at Chapter 5. It's very straightforward. Be sure to take your quiz, and also take a look at the discussion board that should be up and running by tomorrow. I will upload this little video segment up in just a little bit once I get a Wi-Fi signal here. If not, I may have to wait till later this evening at the hotel when I land. But either way, I'll get this to you. I will be reading your posts and your quizzes probably Monday or Tuesday night once I get settled, because everything's still due tonight by midnight. So you guys have a great week, and I'll post a little more later this week in this chapter. Y'all be safe. Bye.